Well, you've seen the protests and marches for racial equality, but the work continues well after the last sign is put away.
The South Dakota Coalition for Justice and Equity formed shortly after the killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis. Group leaders say the goal is to make communities safer and more accountable for people of color. On tonight's Eye on KELOLAND, Brady Mallory gives you a closer look at how the group is doing that.
Over the summer, we heard an undeniably loud chant from a collection of voices all over the country, saying Black Lives Matter.
We're witnessing a national moment that demands change.
As a result of police brutality and, in general, violence toward people of color in the nation, the South Dakota Coalition for Justice and Equity formed. It's a big group of community members and leaders.
Everyone in our community is represented in this group. We have lawyers, people in higher education, social workers, business owners, law enforcement.
It has a simple goal.
It's important for people to feel safe where they live, and it's important for people to feel that they're treated as an equal member of this community.
Taniza Islam with the coalition says the marches and protests created a lot of meaningful conversations about race in America.
But we were really seeing a void in terms of creating measures with outcomes that we will see positive impact in our community.
To do that, the group is looking at proactive ways for communities to make changes, whether that be the workplace environment, support for black businesses, or state legislation, before tragedies occur. One way it's doing that is studying the issue of police violence and criminal justice reform.
We're doing our research and we're doing our work, and when we're ready to approach our city leaders and city decision makers, we'll be backed by the best research that is out there, best practices that are out there, in how to ensure accountability.
Even though Sioux Falls hasn't had an incident like Floyd's murder in Minneapolis, nor the shooting death of Jacob Blake in Wisconsin, both Chandler and Islam say racial inequality and inequity exist outside of these extremes.
We have the luxury of time because we have not had to deal with a crisis where it ends with the death of somebody, right? But that doesn't mean that there aren't other varying degrees of things that are impacting our communities negatively.
And so it's best for us to not wait for crisis to come, and we're trying to adjust and respond in the moment, but really think about what kind of community do we want to be? What kind of relationships do we want to have to one another?
Islam says 100% inclusion is an ongoing effort and important to boost inclusivity in South Dakota's industries and retain diverse young professionals.
I worry about those kids. I worry that we're going to lose them if we don't create the proper inclusive and welcoming pipelines into all sectors in our community, whether that's government, to business, to nonprofit, to law enforcement, to everything.
All over the country, we saw this over the summer. You may not always hear the booming cries of these large groups, but Chandler says people will continue to lift up their voices for future generations.
We owe them a voice in this community, and we owe them a voice in the future of our city. And choices that we make right now are going to impact them more than anyone else.
With Eye on KELOLAND, I'm Brady Mallory.